So I had an interesting scenario come up while working on Kitbash Every Sprue Part 4, where I finished the kitbash and then immediately came up with a more interesting conversion for that sprue, one that would be a better fit for that video. However, I had filmed the whole process already, and why let that go to waste? Welcome to Conversion Quickies, where I tackle an idea that doesn't really have a home in a long-form video. The sprue in question comes from the new Italian Paracadutisti kit that was released in Q2 of 2026. There's plenty to be said about this kit and how it relates to my own Folgore army project, but that discussion is for a future video. Today, we are simply tackling a kitbash idea. Since I don't need any more Italian paratroopers, my thoughts turned to what else I could use this new sprue for, and then I saw it, the untucked pants. Untucking pants is one of my go-to moves when doing conversions. I mean, there have been plenty of examples of that in my previous videos. But what military outfit first had the idea for pulling their pant cuffs out of their gaiters? That's right, the US Marines. The Warlord US Marines kit is older, but it still checks out. My only gripe is that it is a little smaller than the other US Army kits. To build a raggedy-ass Marine in Primaris scale, I started by removing some obvious Italian details, that being the canteen, the Paracadutisti knife, and the lower pockets. The Marine combat shirt also only had one breast pocket, so I carefully trimmed away the right side pocket and then removed the clasp that closed up the left side one. The nice part about this process is that most of these areas will be covered up with American gear, so you don't have to be ultra careful or thorough with your cleanup. Speaking of that American gear, I want this Marine to have a BAR, so some BAR magazine pouches from the Winter American sprue were glued onto the belt, followed by a canteen and a shovel from the US Marine kit. To finally equip this dude with his BAR, I turned to the automatic rifle found on the Winter American sprue. Warlord seems to not enjoy giving us LMGs in properly shouldered firing poses, so this one specifically is a real treat. Now, you may rightly point out that the sleeves on these arms are way too big for a Marine. After all, the Winter Americans are wearing big overcoats. I would agree with you, but also, there are many photos of Marines with uniforms that are stretched and sagging due to sweat, rainfall, wear and tear, battle detritus, and any number of other things. So these sleeves contribute to the raggedy ass look. Once the weapon was in place, all that was left to do was add a Winter American head with a camo covering on the helmet, and this Marine was complete. Now, I usually don't go into my painting steps for kit bashes. You should never ever trust anything I say about miniature painting. But because we have a little extra time in this video, I'll show you how I went about it. I wanted to go with a faded and worn green look for the uniform. I used AK gray green for the pants, and could have used it for the shirt as well. But instead I opted for AK light green uniform, so that the slight difference between the shirt and pants would add to the disheveled look I was after. Combat in the Pacific was not kind to gear, or men, after all. The next step was to tackle the camo helmet cover. I used these three colors to try and simulate the reversible cover that is iconic for US Marines. Now, I think I may have one actual good piece of painting advice here. When painting camouflage, paint the camo pattern slightly bigger than what would be a realistic scale for the miniature. If you paint it at an accurate scale, once the model is on the table, those colors in the pattern will start to blend together, and your model will look noisy instead of it looking like it's wearing a camouflage pattern. Anyways, at this point, you could do an all-over wash, but I like to manually add shadows with a very heavily watered down application of AK Grim Brown. This gives me 100% control of where the shadows go, and I can easily fix any mistakes with the base color. An all-over wash will change the color tones, so fixing errors can become difficult when you can't match that base color anymore. I apply these shadows all over the model, in folds, and around gear. Yeah, these shadows in particular are standing out to me. In the future, I would remove these folds when trying to represent a US Marine. Anyways, once the shadows were complete, I moved on to the highlights by mixing in some off-white or light sand into my base colors. My goal was to punch up the contrast in this step, so that later on I could apply a very heavily thinned Agrax Earthshade filter to tie all the colors together. After that, I did some generic painting steps to get the rest of the details all done up, and one raggedy ass marine was ready for the beaches. I'm pretty happy with this no green stuff required project that can give some variation to your already existing Marine force, or can serve as a complementary leatherneck squad for your US Army platoons. My US Army is based on the campaign for New Georgia, where US Marine Raiders fought side by side with various US Army outfits. So I'll definitely be painting a squad of these guys up to go with that force. I actually had a second example painted up for this video, but when I went to varnish the Mini, I dropped it, snapping his Garand rifle in half, and as an emotionally stable adult, I knew the right thing to do was to throw him into the deep depths of my garage. He will forever be memorialized in the thumbnail. Anyways, the other kitbash idea I have for the Paracadutisti sprue is a bit more involved and, depending on how you look at it, ridiculous. So if you want to see that, make sure you like this video and are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the next Kitbash Every Sprue installment, which is coming very soon. We'll see you then.